afternoon by the time I'm getting around to filming this. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking through my training from the last week. So the reason I wanted to film this video was for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm in the middle of a fat loss phase right now. I've been in a diet or a deficit for the last 3 weeks, and I've got the same focus for the next couple of weeks as well. I explain more about why that is in my previous video, so if you give a shit, go and have a watch of that. And I wanted to show how I train and how I approach training and exercise whilst dieting. I also thought it would be good to walk you through my training routine because I'm a fitness coach, it's what I do, it is my trade, so you may as well see how I approach it. Originally, I had planned to do more sort of direct filming and talking you through my sessions whilst in the training sessions themselves. And then I very, very quickly came to realise that I do not have the confidence to do that yet in my current gym. My current gym is quite small, quite compact, and yeah, there's really not much space to film anything of like proper value without worrying about getting people in shot and all of that sort of stuff. And I don't want to be that person who's filming and getting everybody in shot behind me. So instead, what I've done is filmed clips as and when I can in my sessions, and I'm gonna basically talk you through each session on camera here. But before we kick in, if you are interested in the life of an online fitness coach, how to go about sustainable fat loss, training with intent, building muscle with a few margaritas chucked in there for good measure, then drop me a follow, drop me a like and comment and subscribe and all of that good shit. Okay, let's get into it. So starting off, Monday morning is my first session of the week. On Mondays and Tuesdays, I train early doors, so I'm up at 5:30 in the gym by 6, so that I can get my session done and out the way, boxed off before I then go into my 2 check-in days of the week where I check in with my one-to-one clients. On check-in days, my days are back-to-back check-ins and client calls, so I don't really have the capacity to train at any other time of the day, because for my check-ins I actually have to travel to my mother-in-law's to work for the days because my flat has the shittest Wi-Fi on planet Earth. I have to get my training done early doors so that I can then travel over to hers, do a full day's worth of work and then come home. So yeah, Monday morning session is nice and early, straight in, as soon as the gym opens, and we are kicking off with a leg press, incline leg press. And so the reason I wanted to film my training whilst I'm dieting is because I wanted you to see the type of intensity I train to whilst dieting, which is exactly the same kind of intensity that I train to when not dieting. So I'm still training to near max, if not max effort. I'm still pushing really hard in my sessions. I'm still working to the point of fatigue by the end of each set. It's the way that I talk to clients about how they should be training whilst dieting. Just because you're dieting doesn't mean you should be taking it easy in your training. If anything, if you feel like you have to take it easy in training whilst dieting, it's probably that your dieting calories are way too low and you don't have enough energy to give to your training. When we're focusing on fat loss specifically, it's because we want to prioritize muscle maintenance and or growth within that time as well. Ensure that the mass we are losing, the weight that we are losing is in fact fat rather than muscle. So we still need to be keeping the intensity within training as high as possible in order to ensure the maintenance, the sustenance of muscle mass within that time, which is why you'll see as we go through these sessions, the intensity of my training doesn't drop whatsoever. I still aim to push for a couple more reps each week, or push the weight up a little bit more, or get these reps moving a little bit more smoothly than they did last time. Still making sure that I am progressing within my sessions even when dieting. If you're not needing 10 seconds at the end of your hip extensions to flop and contemplate life and contemplate the choices that have led you to this moment, then you're probably not training hard enough and you can afford to push for a bit more weight or a few more reps. It might be a slightly psychotic thing to say, but I absolutely love lateral raises. And I say psychotic because they're one of those exercises where you will be on the same weight for months, if not years. And I quite like that. I love the fight that is required to get you into the next weight bracket with these. So we had a superset of hip extensions into lateral raises after we did those leg press. So this session I actually had to break up quite a lot in that I didn't do everything in order, and actually I had to half of one session and half of another because of how busy the gym was. That's another thing in this training block. My training is not smooth sailing, Because my gym is quite small, I do tend to have to readjust and reorder my training quite a lot. Generally, I tend to follow the structure as closely as I possibly can, but if I can't, if I have to swap out an exercise from my Tuesday session and put it in my Monday session and alternate the two, then that's what I'll do in order to still get an effective training session in. Then we're going into our lat pull down. So this is an exercise that I had to adjust slightly. This is not necessarily the grip I normally tend to use. I don't normally go for a pronated or overhand grip. I normally go for a neutral grip, but because I was having to jump in and out of somebody who was also using the exercise, using the machine at that point, I had to just stick with the bar that was available so that there wasn't too much faffing around, so that I could still get this exercise into my session. So I would normally go for a neutral grip where my hands are facing in towards each other, but I had to opt for a pronated grip here. Then we're going to go into some single arm cable rear delt flies. This is also an exercise that I really like. I can really connect to the exercise where my delts are concerned, and it feels really good. We're supersetting that with some bicep curls, because you've got to sprinkle a few bro exercises into your sessions. And then we finished off this session with 10 minutes on the Stairmaster to knock off 100 calories from my 1,000 calorie weekly cardio target. Now, like I said, I'm in a dieting phase at the moment, so I want to keep my energy expenditure as high as possible to ensure that I don't have to lower my calorie target any lower than absolutely necessary. So to a lot of people, 1,000 calories might sound like a pretty steep cardio target. For me, what that looks like is 10 minutes on the end of each of my 4 training sessions each week, which racks up to 400 calories. And then I'll do 2 runs each week as well, which will be those extra 600 ticked off. At the moment, I'm training for a 10K race, so those 2 runs I would have been doing anyway, cardio target or not. But the way that I work it into my cardio target is that I then don't count those steps with the runs into my step target for the day. So where quite a lot of people go wrong is they will think, okay, I have a 10,000 step target for the day and I have to get 500 calories worth of cardio done. So I'll double it up. I'll go for an hour long run, and that'll be my cardio target done for the day, and it will help me hit my steps for the day. But all that's doing is cancelling one or the other out. We want to have the 2 as isolated elements of your cardio requirements for the week. So I'll do 400 calories on the Stairmaster, take my watch off in that process as well, which I think I show in one of these videos, so that those steps don't count towards my step target for the day either. 400 calories on the Stairmaster, I'll do 600 calories running, and that will be my cardio boxed off for the week. That's specific to me, that's personal to me, so I can afford to add that time into my week. Some people might not be able to dedicate that much time to cardio, and that's absolutely fine. So session 2, we're gonna go in for some back squats. Back squats are always a bit of a love-hate exercise for me. They're not one of my most naturally strongest exercises. I used to do CrossFit. I did CrossFit from 2020 to 2022. Yeah, I did 2 years of dedicated to where my training was just purely dedicated to CrossFit. And back squats tended to be one of my weaker exercises. I would never be able to progress very quickly on them in terms of weight increase. So I've always had a bit of a love-hate relationship with the back squat exercise. Because I'm also an ex-dancer, my mobility is pretty good, pretty decent, but that does mean I have the ability to get nice and low in my squat depth, which is a blessing and a curse. A blessing because it means that I've got good hip mobility, good range, which is beneficial for other areas of life. And it's a curse because it then means I have further to travel back up again from the bottom of my squat. In this cycle that I'm in at the moment, we're going for a relatively high rep range. So we're not aiming for anywhere remotely close to, 1 to 3 rep maxes, but we're still working to a good intensity. Now, this is actually a tri-set of exercises. A tri-set is 3 exercises pretty much back to back. So we're going to go for back squats, straight into some chin-up work. The way that this bar is set up means it's really hard and difficult to get into position off the back of my back squats. So I tend to cheat these reps a little bit and already start with a slight bend in my elbow rather than starting from this dead hang position. So I do cheat these a little bit, and I'm very aware of that. I'm still working to a good intensity, so I don't mind too much. And I still consider them 3/4 reps rather than full reps. And then our final exercise in this tricep is a push press. So a push press versus a strict press. We're going back to my CrossFit days a little bit. Push press requires or utilizes a little bit of momentum build up from the lower body. So you'll see that my knees do a little bounce, a little pulse before those weights lift off my shoulders. Moving on, we're gonna go into some tricep cable extensions. Again, I really enjoy this exercise. I can really connect to my triceps really effectively here. Moving into our leg extension, and again, we're still pushing to failure. One of the most important things when it comes to setting up on the leg extension is making sure you have the ability to drive your body down into that seat, either by gripping onto the handlebars either side, or you might even want to put a resistance band or a belt over your hips just to really stabilize yourself into that chair. And then we're finishing this session with a little bit of a sort of a Metcon high intensity finisher type exercise type setup. We're starting off with some drop jumps. These are really handy for a direct transfer into my running training as well, in terms of the stress that running creates on the body and building my body's capacity to deal with that stress and that stimulus from running. So we're going for drop jumps. We're then going into some kettlebell swings, so nice high power movement, finishing off with some weighted sit-ups. So I think we did 3 or 4 rounds of this. And then we finished that off with 10 minutes on the Stairmaster. So I think, yeah, this is where I show you that you need to take your watch off when it comes to the Stairmaster and the treadmill if you're using that time as dedication to your cardio target rather than dedication to your steps. Another hack when it comes to any form of cardio, unless you obviously need to see your output, is to cover the screen so that you're not clock watching, you're not time watching, you're not calorie watching or any of that. It helps time pass much, much quicker and much easier. Moving on, this was my 3rd session of the week. So actually this last week, I trained for my strength sessions. I did all of my sessions at 6 a.m. Most of the time I tend to do my second 2 sessions around mid-morning, so around 10 a.m. But it just so happened that I had a really busy week worth of calls last week, which meant I had to do my sessions early in the morning every day. So here we're setting up for our conventional deadlifts. I'm using straps here to help with grip strength. And this was also a tricep as well. So similar to the back squat setup, we're going for a tricep here. So the second exercise in the tricep was reverse lunges. These were meant to be walking lunges, but because the gym was so busy, we just opted for reverse lunges instead. And because they were meant to be walking lunges, I did alternate from one side to the next. Normally, when it is a static lunge, I will tend to recommend clients do all on the right leg and then all on the left. But because I was meant to be doing walking lunges, it was an easy sort of alternative. Finishing off, some more lateral raises. With things like lateral raises, because I'm wanting to build structure and definition in my shoulders, they're a really easy exercise to double up within a week's worth of training. Moving on, we're going to go for some sets on the glute drive. I love the glute drive machine. It's a bit of a Marmite piece of kit. Some people love it, some people really don't get on with it. Personally, I love it because of the convenience aspect of it. One of the things I hate the most in the gym is the process of setting up barbell hip thrusts. I find it the most tedious process in the world. I love a hip thrust exercise itself. I can connect to that exercise really well, but the setting up process of a barbell hip thrust, fuck that. So I use the glute drive for all of my hip thrust or cast bridge variations within my training. And again, we're still working to failure here. We're going to go for a seated shoulder press. Shoulder press, again, an exercise I absolutely love. I had to take some time off doing shoulder press after I had my breast augmentation boob job, which I had pretty much this time last year, June last year. I had to take quite a lot of time off of any shoulder pressing work when I was still sort of reintroducing strength training back into my routine post-surgery. So the first time I did shoulder press after my surgery, it was a glorious day because I hadn't done them for like 6-7 months at that point. Moving on, this was where my filming skills went downhill quite quickly. So we've got some cable wood chops, which is a great oblique and core exercise on the cable machine. The focus here is on keeping those hips as still as possible. So we're just rotating the trunk and trying to isolate the trunk from the lower body. And then I go completely out of shot. Honestly, for somebody whose job relies so heavily on content creation, I can be incredibly shit at angles sometimes when it comes to gym training. Supersetting that with some single leg hops. So again, this is more strength transfer work for running, so dealing with that pressure of pounding through the feet when you're running on the pavement. And once again, finishing off with 100 calories on the Stairmaster. The reason I use the Stairmaster for most of my cardio that's not running related is because it gets the job done the quickest of all of the cardio machines, I tend to find anyway. I struggle to really push myself on the bike. The rower is a bit boring because I can't distract myself in any way. Like when I'm on the Stairmaster or the bike, I can read my book or I can scroll through Instagram or I can reply to messages. On the rower, obviously your whole body's involved, so you can't really do anything to distract yourself. So that's why I like to use the Stairmaster outside of running, because it gets the job done really quickly and I can distract myself. And now I'm going to add some footage in of my first run of the week, although this was actually on Wednesday. So I'd done Monday, Tuesday, run, Thursday, and then the session that we haven't gone through yet. So this is technically in the wrong place, but I can't be asked to change it. So here we are. I think of a lot of things I'd rather be doing than this run right now. But we get it done anyway, because we've got a race to do in a couple of weeks' time. And I want to make sure that I feel as prepared for it as possible. And in order to do that, I've got to do my run. And honestly, it's the most beautiful day. So I literally already feel better just by being outside. It's only up from here. Very tough, but it's done and I'm really proud of myself for taking it off. A couple of things I remind myself when I'm procrastinating exercise or not looking forward to exercise. Cliche, but hits every time. You don't have to exercise, you get to exercise. If you're lucky enough to have a body that allows you to run and lift weights and move and exercise regularly, then you may as well bloody make the most of it, because there'll be a point in your life, either much further down the line or tomorrow, where you won't be able to do that. That's what I tell myself anyway when I'm not looking forward to doing something revolved around exercise. Number 2, the goal is only ever to do your best. Doing your best very rarely leads to a PB. But if you do your best every time you go in for a session, regardless of what that looks like, then you will progress, because your best will get better every time. Number 3, even if it doesn't make you feel 10 times better, which sometimes it won't, it 99.9% of the time won't make you feel any worse. So you may as well do it. And now I'm going to go shower, have some breakfast, and get on with the rest of my day. Please ignore the washing. I just realised that I did that whole spiel of, you know, what I say to my, wow, my lips are really blue. Just had blueberries in my yogurt. That's really weird. I realised I did that full spiel of what I say to myself when I don't want to do a run. I didn't actually explain the run that I did. So although it is the most glorious day, I only really like running outside on weekends, because in my weekday run, my Wednesday run, I normally tend to focus on intervals or slow recovery runs, both of which I do much better on the treadmill. So I went to the gym, got on the treadmill and did a kilometre warm up and then 6 rounds of 60 seconds sprint, 2 minutes recovery run, and kept the recovery run a little bit quicker than I normally would do, just to push myself a little bit, and did 6 rounds of that and then a cool down. So 30 minutes total, and worked up a good sweat and felt good. Also, I've been using my free 5k to 10k running plan that I developed, or that myself and Kath developed. I've been using that for the last 8 weeks, and I got a 10k PB at the weekend. So it bloody works, and if you want it, I will link it in the description down there. Would help if I explained what the fuck that is. A running plan that takes 8 weeks and is designed to take you from a dodgy 5k to a really strong, solid 10k. So if you're somebody who tends to run the shorter distances, like 0 to 5k, 1 to 5k, and you're yet to break that barrier of life beyond 5k, and you need a plan to help you get there, then this is your plan. So you've got two runs a week with an optional third run, plus a run specific strength training plan in there as well. It's all for free. So what's not to love? And it's in the link, it's in the description down below. And finishing off with our final session of the week, starting off with chin-ups. Chin-ups for me, again, another love-hate exercise. Love it when I can do them. Hate it when I take a week or 2 off and suddenly it's like I've never done any chin-up training in my life. Again, it's not one of those exercises that my body is naturally strong at. Some girls can whack out chin-ups without doing any chin-up training in their life. Some girls, it takes years to get their first chin-up. I am one of those girls. It took me 9 months of really properly dedicated chin-up training to get my first one, but I'd been on and off trying to get one for a couple of years before that as well. It was a labor of love, trust me. So the fact that I'm now at a point where I can whack out 3 sets of 3 strung chin-ups in the space of 1 session is fantastic. I've just realised that a lot of this footage is in the wrong order, because it looks like I've just done 2 shoulder press back to back. I haven't. I'm pretty sure this was actually a session earlier in the week, so apologies for that. But yeah, this was more of an upper body heavy session. So we were doing chin-ups and then we had shoulder press into bent over rows. I'm actually gonna call myself out here a little bit. This tempo was not good. I definitely need to drop the weight ever so slightly and find a little bit more pause at the top of that rep. Yeah, this session was definitely earlier in the week because it also then looks like I did 2 glute drives back to back. I didn't. There was some time between the 2. But again, still contemplating life at the end of it because that is the intensity that we are aiming for in training at the moment. And always. Zercher squats are one of those exercises that is as brutal as it looks. They are so brutal. But again, kind of love it. Kind of love the brutality of a Zercher squat. And then we finished off with another little higher intensity cardio Metcon type finisher. So we were doing box jumps. We then went into some time on the ski erg and we then went into some kettlebell windmills. So my coach gives me a little bit of freedom where the Metcon side of my training is concerned. At the moment, I'm focusing on incorporating at least 1 or 2 elements of Hyrox into my Metcon because I stupidly signed myself up for one at the end of the year with my second coach, Kath. So we're doing doubles Hyrox next in November or December. And I want to make sure I'm incorporating elements of it within my training now so that it's not this big shock to the system when it comes to doing more dedicated training to it a little bit further into the year. And as always, finishing off on the Stairmaster. Okay, just on my way to the gym for my probably final time this week. I've got just over 200 calories worth of cardio to tick off. And I was going to do it on via a run, which I normally do on a Saturday. I normally do a really long run on a Saturday or like a decent run on a Saturday. But my hips have been feeling very, very, very tight for the last week. And I've got a 10k race to do next Saturday, so I don't really want to push it. So probably 200 calories on the bike and that'll be me done for the week. And that, in a very brief nutshell, is my training at the moment, what my training is looking like. 4 strength sessions, 1,000 calories worth of cardio, including 2 runs. Apart from this week where I decided to do the bike instead. Hopefully that was insightful, informative, entertaining of some description, and you had a good time. I'm going to leave it there. If you've got any questions about any of that, then just let me know in the comments. In next week's video, you're going to come with me on my 10k race day. So next Saturday, myself and 10 or so of our clients are doing a 10k race in Regent's Park. So you'll come along and join me for that. Like I said, any questions, leave them in the comment section. Give it a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.